جد الحسن والحسين النبي الحرمين والإمام القبلتين والرسول الثقلين الذين سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المرحومين المنتخبين المنتجبين لا سيما بقية الله العظيم وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفدا واللعنة الدائمة الباقية على أعدائهم ومنكر فضائلهم وخاسر حقوقهم أجمعين. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه تبارك وتعالى في محكم كتابه ومتقن خطابه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يعوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي ومن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. صلوات على محمد وعلى we have reached our 7th night, and slowly or surely we're coming to the climax and the pinnacle of our discussion, which is the day of Ashura. And in reality, the day of Ashura is the day of the preservation of Tawheed. The day of Ashura is the day of Tawheed. The day of Ashura is the day in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His belief in His oneness is saved. And this is not a statement of hyperbole or exaggeration. This is the answer that many years later somebody asked Imam As-Sajjad alayhi salatu wasalam. He said to him that on the day of Ashura, did Yazid win or did your father win? And Imam alayhi salam said to him, just wait for the adhan to come. When the adhan comes, you will know whether my father Hussain alayhi salam won on the day of Ashura or Yazid won. If the name of Hussein's grandfather is mentioned in the adhan, then you know that Hussein won. And if the name of Yazid's grandfather is mentioned in the adhan, then you know that Yazid won. So in reality, the day of Ashura and everything that Imam Hussain has done is a day to make people recognize what does it mean to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How does one know what is the correct, the real meaning of believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And amongst that belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has control over everything in our lives. ultimately, control belongs to Him. Power belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Out of that, certain things He is determined for me, for you, in our lives. And certain things He has allowed you and I to make a choice in those matters. Those things which are determined, those things which have been decided, in Arabic is called qadr. That is, or taqdeer, on qadr. That is which is decided. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about creation that we created, khalaqa thumma qaddar. We created and we determined their cause. And this is important because it is a proof and an evidence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't create without any reasoning, without any purpose, aimlessly or baselessly. No, He's created with a purpose and He's determined that course that the person is going to take. But, then question, if He has determined everything, if everything is determined, if everything is decided, then doesn't that mean that people are just robots who are being decided and determined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they can't do anything? Whatever they do is already being decided. So this is what our discussion today is about. Is that, are people just robots? Have they been decided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or is there something more to this particular point regarding determinism? What has been determined? What do we have a choice about? And how do we differentiate between these two matters? Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa alihi. So the first thing is with regards to determinism. Everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, He's determined the course of those creations. Everything. He tells us, He gives us examples of this. He tells us, I created the sun, and then I determined the course of the sun. Every day, sun has to come out at the fixed time. Every day it has to set at the fixed time. Not even a minute gets late. Mu'mineen might come late for the majlis, but sun never gets late. Sun is never late because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has fixed its course. Moon is never late. Whatever time is fixed for moon set, for moon rise, these are determined. Earth is determined on its course. In 24 hours it will rotate on its axis and complete one course, one cycle. This is determined. It can't go to 25 hours. It can't go to 23 hours. It will always be 24 hours. This is all determined. The sun, the moon, the earth, the stars, the planets, they have no say in this matter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has determined their course. And all of this determinism has some wisdom in it. We don't want to discuss that because we are concerned about determinism that we are subjected to. These determinisms, they are there for our benefit. Not only the determinism of the sun rising and setting, but also the determinism of the distance of the earth from the sun. If the earth was any closer to the sun, we would die of the heat. And if it was any further away, we would die of the cold. So this is also determined, this distance that the earth has from the sun. All of these determinisms, these are all for my, your, everybody else's benefit. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for human being in Holy Quran, tells us that everything else we determine their course. He told them this is the course they have to take. They have no choice in the matter, they have no say in the matter. They cannot deviate from that course, they cannot change their mind. The sun cannot decide one day not to come out. The moon cannot decide one day not to come out. The earth cannot decide that it will stop spinning on its axis. All of this is decided. But for human being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses a very unique word that He doesn't use for any other creation. For everything else He says, you are determined, qaddar, from taqdeer. But for human being He says, inna hadayna as-sabila, imma shakiran wa imma kafur. We gave you the guidance. We showed you the guidance, we showed you the way. This Sabil, 5th, 6th, 8th Holy Imam, alayhi salatu salam, in different narrations mention that Sabil refers to us, Ahlul Bayt, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided you to us. Now it's your choice whether you accept and be grateful, or you don't accept and be ungrateful, kafura. You hide the reality, you hide the truth. This is your choice. This means that in this matter of guidance, human beings are not determined. Question. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows who's going to be guided and who's not going to be. Then, why is it that He says that you have or how is it possible for there to be a choice? Example that we use, of course, is a example, and we have to say this is bila tashbih, because it's not an exact example. But it's an example in order to make us understand or help us understand the difference between determinism, between taqdeer and knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have a teacher, they have 20 students in their class, for example. Before the exam, teacher will say, this student will pass and this student will fail. Right? When you ask the teacher, how do you know, they haven't done the exam yet, how do you know this student will pass, this student will fail? We say that on the basis of their performance throughout the year, I know that this student will pass and this student will fail. It's possible that even after that prediction it might not come out true. Possible. But most of the time, teacher's prediction generally is accurate. That this student, they handed in their work, they did their work, they listened attentively, they studied, they made notes, they will prepare, they revise for the exam. When they come, they'll pass. This other student didn't make any notes, didn't pay attention in class, didn't attend the class, and then at the end of the year when it comes to the exam, this student will probably not pass. The fact that the teacher knows that these two students, one of them will pass and one of them will fail, does not determine their passing or failing. Right? Nobody will say that because the teacher said that this student will definitely pass and this student will definitely fail, the teacher is responsible. No, ultimately, the student is responsible for whether they pass or fail because it's due to their own actions. The knowledge of the teacher is independent of the decisions made by the student. Similarly, knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is independent of the actions performed by the people. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. But that action or that knowledge that He knows doesn't determine my action, doesn't determine my choices in my life. So then what is taqdeer and how does that affect my life? Whereas for every other creation, everything is determined. They have no choice in the matter. In the matter of human beings, We're not determined. We have choice in the matter. But is that choice unlimited, or is there some limited kind of choice? In this matter, many theologians, many schools of thought about theology got misguided. One school of thought came forward and said that every single thing in our life is determined. In other words, we're all robots. We have no choice in the matter. Whatever we do is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us do it. One proponent of this theology was once giving a lecture that how is it possible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, and when He knows, then how is it that I could be held responsible for my actions? So one from the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam came and threw a lump of clay at his head. So he complained. He said to him that when you threw why did you throw this at me? The story is long, I'm just leaving out the details, but you know. So he said that if this argument of yours is correct, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala determines every single action, then you shouldn't complain to me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made me do it. If you think that we're all robots and that every action is determined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that means that my throwing this lump of clay at you was also determined by God. You can't hold me responsible. But in reality, what is the case regarding determinism, regarding taqdeer? Famous story. Somebody comes to fifth holy Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam. Says to him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, what is determined in my life and what is the matters, or what are the matters in which I have a choice? Imam alayhi salam says to him that stand up. He stands up. Imam tells him stand on one foot. He stands, balances on one foot. Imam says now lift up the other one without putting the first one down. He says I can't do that. If I do that I will fall over, I will collapse. Imam alayhi salam says that is the division between what is determined in your life and how much free will you have. That you have that much free will that you could stand on one leg, but you can't stand on the air. Yes, Imam Amirul Mu'minin on the day of Khaybar stood on the air, but that also when he was asked, he said this was not the human capability, this was the capability from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Imam says this is the division between what is determined in your life and what you have choices of. Somebody comes to our seventh holy Imam, Imam Muslim Zafar alayhi salatu. Imam explains to him, he says, La jabra wa la tafweed walakin amra bayn al-amrayn. There's no compulsion, there's no fix in your life, nor is there complete free will, but there's a matter in between both of them. In other words, there's matters in your life which are being decided, and there's matters in your life which you have free will of. How do we understand these matters if we want to become even closer to this? Because it's a very difficult area to talk about. But I'll use an example from Ayman alayhi salam so you can come even closer to this matter. Recite salawat alayhi. The matter of having children. Everybody, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the fitrat of human being, innate nature of human being, has supplanted the human being with desires, so that through that desires they could come together, have marriage, and then have children. This is all through the desire, the faculty of desire that human beings have been created with. And amongst those desires is the desire for couples to have children. But this desire, and you can do everything that you want in your power in order to have children, but the decision to have children is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is not just for you and me, it even extends to the representatives of Allah. Let me give an example. Our seventh father and son, our seventh holy Imam, Imam Muslim spends the majority of his life. He's born in 128 and he's made shaheed in 183. 55 years. Majority of his life he spends in prison. 55 years of age. Majority of his life he spends in prison. Despite that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses him, endows him, has in his taqdeer 37 children. Imam Musa ibn Jafar, again, Imam Musa ibn Jafar alayhi salam, 55 years of age, majority of his adult life in prison. Yet, 37 children, 19 sons and 18 daughters. His son, Imam Ali ibn Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, incidentally also lives for 55 years. He's born in 148 and he's made shaheed in 203. So just like his father, also lives for 55 years. But he's 20 years old, he has no children. He's 30 years old, he has no children. He's 40 years old, he has no children. He's 45 years old, he has no children. Some people who believe in him as Imam begin to have doubts. How can he be the Imam? He has no children. Who's going to be his successor? Who's going to be the Imam after him? And Imam Musa ibn Jafar, majority of his adult life is in prison. Imam Ali ibn Musa alayhi salam, not a single day in prison. Imam Musa ibn Jafar, majority of his adult life is spent in prison. Yet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has determined that he's going to have 37 children. Imam Ali ibn Musa alayhi salam, his son, lives for the same period of time. Not a single day in prison. Yet he has to wait until he's 48 years of age when Imam Muhammad al-Taqi alayhi salatu wasalam is born. This is taqdeer. That you think from the apparent that this person is in prison, he spends most of his adult life in prison, how does he have children? And this son of his, directly after him, not a single day in prison, no issues, no problems. He spends his time, he's the Wali Ahad of the Ma'mun Rashid, in the palace of Ma'mun Rashid, but yet no children. Until 48 years of age. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, look, this is called taqdeer, this is called determinants. That we determine when he's going to have children and how many children he's going to have. Otherwise, if it was in anybody else's hands, it would have been easy, or it would have been rational, or it would have been made sense that the one who doesn't spend time in prison should have more children, compared to the one who spends most of his adult life in prison. And this is a message for you and me. What happens? Young couple, they make the mistake of getting married, first of all, in this society. Then as soon as they get married, they come to the Husayniyah or the Islamic Center or the masjid, and then the aunties start nagging them, when are you going to have children? It's not in their hands, it's not in your hands. This is taqdeer, when Allah's messengers and imams have no choice in this matter, when you are I. Somebody, let's go to marriage. Don't start nagging them, when are you going to have children? It's not in their hands, it's not in their choice. This is taqdeer. This is determined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when they're going to have children. They might have to wait a year, 2 years, 4 years, 10 years, 15 years. I know of couples who had to wait 15 years before they could have children. Why? There's nothing wrong with them. This is determined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when they're going to have. Besides, similarly, in the matter, 2 more aspects very quickly, which are related to our lives, which is life and death and sustenance, risk. As far as the matter of death is concerned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that time or date and place of death is determined, it's written down, it's fixed. But, so it's taqdeer. I don't know when it is, but it's fixed, it's going to come. I always say that there's people who in this world who could deny the existence of God, but even those people don't deny death. Even those people who deny the existence of God don't deny death. You know? So death is a reality. Every single human being accepts that it comes and it's going to come to everyone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it's determined, it's fixed. But it can be changed. It's determined, it's fixed, but it can be changed. How can it be changed? We have a whole chapter after chapter after chapter of riwayat that those people who are good to their relatives, who do silatul raham, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases their life. And those who do evil to their relatives, do qat'a raham, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will decrease their lives. Now, question will arise that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already knows whether this person is going to do good to their relatives, evil to their relatives. So, whether the lifespan is increased or decreased is already known by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, it's known. But that person doesn't know. The individual whose life is going to increase or decrease doesn't know. And nor does the angel know. Malakul Maut doesn't know either. Malakul Maut will be appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a fixed time of when the person's life, death is determined. And the lack of awareness of Malakul Maut is to the extent, yesterday we mentioned about Sulaiman alayhi salam. It's mentioned famous story that one day a person came to Sulaiman and he realized that he's going to die. So he thought in his naivety that if I go to some faraway place, then Malakul Maut won't come to me. So that moment he's sitting in the palace of Sulaiman and a person, Malakul Maut comes to visit Hazrat Sulaiman. So he looks at this person with surprise that there's this person sitting here. Malakul Maut comes, he sees, visits Sulaiman and salam, goes back. This person says to Sulaiman, I want to go to some faraway place so that death doesn't come to me. So send me to some faraway place. Sulaiman alayhi salam arranges, says to him, you go to this faraway place. He goes there to this faraway place. Malakul Maut comes to him. Next day, Malakul Maut, after taking his soul, comes back to Sulaiman alayhi salam. So Sulaiman says to him, yesterday you came and you were looking at that person with surprise. Why were you looking at him? Why were you staring at him? So Malakul Maut says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told me that I had to take the soul of this person at that place. So I was wondering that tomorrow I have to take his soul at that place, and today he's sitting here next to you. How is he going to reach to that place where I have to take his soul? I'm giving this example to show that Malakul Maut doesn't even know how that person is going to reach to his death. And nor does that person know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, yes, I know. But I've mentioned this in order to give you incentive that you have to be good to your relatives and not to be evil to your relatives, because it's linked to your life, linked to how you could increase your lifespan, decrease your lifespan. Now, at this juncture, I've mentioned this before, but by the matter of, or by the point that has come here, that at this juncture, lots of people ask that such and such relative of mine is not good to me. Such and such relative is like this to me. Such and such relative does this evil thing to me. So then what is my obligation? How am I supposed to maintain my relationship with that person? So, I remember first time when somebody asked me this, I said, I have to search the books of riwayat, books of hadith to find out what's the minimum requirement on this matter. Because it's obligatory, it's wajib to have silatul rahim, to have good relations with relatives, with the blood relatives. Rahim means blood relatives. So there's a hadith from the Holy Prophet of Islam where he says, Sallu arhamakum walau bis salam. Make sure you maintain your relations with your relatives, even if it means just salam. Even if it means just salam. Right? Even at this juncture, somebody said to me once, but what if they don't reply? I said, that's their responsibility. Your responsibility is to do salam. Nowadays, it's very easy. Send the message on WhatsApp and then you can block. Salawat ala Muhammad wa alayhi. You did your responsibility. You did your responsibility. You fulfilled your obligation. Why? Because it's my matter. I want to make sure I have good lifespan. I don't want to decrease my lifespan because of somebody else. So my responsibility is sallu alhamku wa law bis salam. Even if it means just with salam. This is a matter of life and death. That yes, death has been determined, it's fixed, but can change. Similarly is with risk, with sustenance. That this is fixed, but it can change. It can change. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, for example, this person is going to earn this much amount. But if they give sadaqah, if they give charity, then I'm going to increase that. Why? Because usually, this is very counterintuitive. Usually we think that if I give my money away, it's going to decrease. We think that if I give it, it's going to decrease. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no. If you give in sadaqah, if you give in charity, then I'll increase it. I will increase what I have promised you in terms of your risk. If you don't, you can work as many hours as you want and you can work as hard as you want, but you won't get that increase from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is determined. But, so now Imam alayhi salatu wasalam asked, says, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, how do we then know what is determined, what is not, and what's our responsibility? If everything is determined, then does that mean that I stop doing everything? Imam alayhi salam says no. If you want to find out whether something is determined or not, then look in the Holy Quran and you will find out. Holy Quran says what? Imam alayhi salam says in the Quran, if it says that we're going to hold you accountable for something, that means that you have free will in that matter. But if Holy Quran doesn't say that you're going to be accountable, then that means it's determined. For example, the place that I'm born, that's determined. Allah is not going to hold me accountable for that. The time that I'm born, the family that I'm born to, the parents that I have, my skin color, my height, all of these things are things that are already determined. I have no control over them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no accountability for me about those things. But my actions, what I do in my life, how I treat other people, whether I fulfill my obligations, whether I go against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's obligations, all of these things are things I'll be held accountable for. So in this matter there's no taqdeer, there's no determinism. And in addition to this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the matter of rizq says that we have determined that some people will get more than others. No, it's not the fact that everybody's going to get equal. No, some people have more than others. In order to find out that whether those who have more will help those who are less fortunate. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me more than I need, that means that that share that He gave me that is more than I need is a share that I have to see whether I'm helping other people with that share or not. Because that share is more than what I need. He's determined that to see whether I'm going to help other people with that share that is left. That is the key message takeaway regarding destiny, regarding determinism. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has determined certain things in my life, but then He's not holding me accountable for those things which is determined. He's only holding me accountable for things which I have choice over making. If I make those choices, He's told me this is the right choice, this is the wrong choice, this is the choice which will go into. In other words, this matter that He's determined certain things is not an excuse for me to go away from my responsibilities. In fact, there might be things in which certain things are determined, but certain things I have free will over. Quran tells me that the risk that I'm going to get is determined. But, big but, the way that I get it is up to me. The effort that I still have to do, the effort to get it. I cannot say that risk has been determined for me, so I'm going to sit at home and I'm not going to go and search for my risk. I'm not going to go and search and work because it's already determined, it's already fixed. No, it's fixed, but I still have to go and search for it in order to get it. That is up to me to search for it, and in this search for it, it's up to me whether I take the route which is halal or that which is haram. Regarding this, a famous story that you had made tells us Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen one day is passing from a place and he passes by a masjid, so he wants to stop and pray at that masjid. So he looks around, he sees there's a person standing near the masjid. He says to him, look after my horse or my camel, whatever it was. I'm going inside to pray and then I'm coming back. So Imam he goes inside the masjid, he's praying. This person is waiting, he decides to be impatient and he leaves. He takes the saddle off the horse and he sells it in the marketplace. When Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen comes back, he sees his horse is there with no saddle. This is to what happened to the saddle. So now when you do one mistake, you have to do another one in order to cover it up. So he says, there was no saddle. So first you sold it, then you say that there was no saddle. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen doesn't argue with him. This is called wisdom. This is called wisdom. This is exemplified in this example. That he doesn't argue with him. Imam al-Islam can argue with him and say, you're lying. Of course there was a saddle, but he doesn't argue with him. So he goes to the marketplace, and in the marketplace he sees that saddle of his is hanging in the marketplace. So he says to the person who's selling the saddle, again, this is wisdom again. He doesn't say to him that that's my saddle, like you and I would have said. I don't know about you, but I definitely would have said, that's my saddle. He doesn't say. He says to him, how much is it? So he says different riwayat. One riwayat says 1 dinar, 2 dinars, whatever it was. So Imam a.s. buys his own saddle back from the shopkeeper, from the owner, and puts it on. Then he says to his companion that this person who I entrusted with the with the horse. When I came out, I intended to give him 1 dinar, 2 dinars as ujrat, as payment for him looking after my horse. What he received at the ultimate, at the end outcome is the same. He got the 1 dinar. But if he had taken it from me, it would have been halal. Because he stole my saddle and sold it, he made it haram. So what he received was fixed. But it was his choice whether to receive it through halal or through haram. Now the matter of changing taqdeer, changing lives, is also very important matter, which is sadaqah. Sadaqah can literally save your life. Actually, it can save your life. This story is attributed to 2 prophets of Allah, but famously to Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. That one day he was going with his companions and he passes by a house where there's a celebration going on. Everybody is very happy. And they learn that there's a wedding going on. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam says to his disciples, tomorrow we're going to pass from this place. Today there's celebration, tomorrow there will be mourning. Today there's celebration, tomorrow there's going to be mourning. Next day they passed and there's still celebration going on. So disciples say, Ya Nabi Allah, you said today there's going to be mourning, but celebration is still going on, they're still partying. So what happened? So the Isa alayhi salam said, let's go and find out. So they go inside. The Isa alayhi salam says, I want to meet the bride. So he says to her that, did you do something special yesterday? Did you do something out of the ordinary yesterday? So bride thinks to herself that I didn't do anything extraordinary. So the Isa says that, think carefully and tell me if you did something that was out of the ordinary. So when Hazrat Isa insists to the bride, she says yes. Whilst everyone was celebrating and being happy and merry, a beggar came to the door and asked for something in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there was some food here which I took and I gave it to him. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam said to his disciples, that's what saved her. Then he says to the bride, stand up. So she stands up. When she stands up, from beneath her wedding dress there's a snake which comes out, a serpent. And Hazrat Isa alayhi salam says to his disciples, that serpent was there to kill her. She would have died. But because of that sadaqah last night, she saved her life. Because of that sadaqah, she saved her life. So sadaqah, charity in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, can literally, actually save your life. Now here there's an important point as well to mention, and that is that sadaqah means that I take that money or that food or whatever it is and deliver it to the person who's in need. That is sadaqah. When I take it out and put it in a box in my house, that's not sadaqah. I have to make sure that that money reaches the person who's in need. Until it reaches, the effect won't be realized. Yes, it's fine to have the box in the house and take the sadaqah out, but I have to make sure that it reaches the person who's in need. That is sadaqah. And it's mentioned that person who takes this out every day saves themselves from 70 kinds of calamities, including saving themselves from it. That there might have been something that's going to happen to them that would have ended their life, but they saved their life by giving sadaqah, by giving charity. So, this is the brief, prompted history regarding taqdeer, regarding that which has been determined. Then there's one more element of this which is called qada. And qada means that which is fixed or which has an end. And of course everything has an end. Sometimes death is also referred to as qada. That everything is determined to have an end. Human beings would like to live forever, but reality is that there is qada, there is an end to every particular thing. Now it's up to me, that end is fixed. It's up to me whether I want that end to be good or not so good. That's in my control, that's in my hand, that is what I'm able to determine. And if I'm able to determine that this is what is fixed, and I'm able to determine the outcome of that, then I'm able to be successful in this life and the next life. And the most successful are the people who are visionaries in their lives, who are able not only to think about themselves and their own times, but for the times to come ahead. And I'll give you a little short example of that, and then go to Muslim. Visionaries are those who are able to make that determinism, that taqdeer, that qada, positively affect their own lives and people to come ahead. Why? Or how? After the shahadat of Imam Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam, Amir of Sham, ruler of Sham, is still adamant to maintain control over Damascus and surrounding areas. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salatu wasalam prepares to go to battle with him. People start deserting him. Then Amir of Sham realizes that Imam Hassan doesn't have enough support. So he sends a piece of paper towards Imam and says to him that write whatever conditions you want to write on this and I will accept them. He sent a blank piece of paper with a signature at the bottom. So question. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba knows that Amir of Sham is like, you should have continued the fighting. He said, I don't accept your peace. I know that your intentions, your motives are incorrect, your motives are not sincere. But he's telling us two things. One, this is the policy of Allah, of Tawheed, that if peace is offered to you, you must accept it. Policy of Tawheed is that if peace is offered to you, you must accept it. And it doesn't matter who the other person is. Ruler of Sham used to say the kalima of the Prophet to claim to be a Muslim. Rasulullah accepted peace with those who didn't even accept Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim to be written on the paper. On the day of Hudaybiyah, Imam Amirul Mu'mineen wrote Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. They said, remove Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If we believed in Allah, then we wouldn't have make peace treaty with you. But Rasulullah made peace with those people. To show what? To show that the policy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that peace is offered to you, you make peace with it. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba also follows the same seerat of his grandfather Rasulullah and makes peace. But he does this because he's a visionary. He's not just thinking about his own time, he's thinking about the time until the day of judgment. Can you imagine that you and I would have been would go blue in the face in order to try and prove the things that Amir of Sham did wrong, and we wouldn't have been able to prove them. But Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba forces him to write down those conditions himself, sign those conditions so that he agrees. And we know, documented till the day of judgment, that this is what he used to do, and this is what Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba forced him to concede. This is what Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba forced him to concede. Otherwise, there's no way that he could have proven that he doesn't act according to Quran and Sunnah. There's no way that you could have proven that he curses Imam Amirul Mu'mineen that he's killing Shia of Amirul Mu'mineen he's doing this, X, Y, Z. All of these things are proven because it's written in a document that's signed by Amir of Sham. Why? Because Hassan al-Mujtaba is a visionary. He knows that what's going to come ahead. And there's another reason. This is very important. He knows that my manpower is limited. And there's another battle that's coming. We have to prepare for that. We have to prepare for the day of Ashura. We have to prepare for... Why? Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba has just been given poison. The poison is so severe that his liver is cracked into pieces. He's throwing out pieces of his liver. Imam Hussain al-Salam sees this state of his brother and he's weeping, sobbing uncontrollably. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba says to his brother, Imam Hussain, don't weep over me. He says, why? How can a brother not weep over his brother when he sees him in this state? Imagine how the liver is one of the strongest organs in the body. Imagine how severe the poison has to be for the liver to crack into pieces. Imam Hassan says, Hussain, don't cry over me. Why? La yawm li yawmik ya Abbas. There's no day like your day. There's no day like the day of Ashura. And this day of Ashura is so important that everybody who's alive, who has ma'rifat of Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, wants to be there on the day of Ashura. And everybody who's died before Ashura has made sure that they have somebody representing them on the day of Ashura. Everybody who's died from Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam has somebody representing them on the day of Ashura. And Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salatu wasalam has Qasim ibn Hassan representing him on the day of Ashura. And Qasim ibn Hassan isn't an ordinary child. Qasim ibn Hassan is giving us, or is helping us in the matter of Qada and Qadr as well. What does he say? On the night, today is the 7th of Muharram. This is something important happened on the 7th of Muharram. It's usually said that the water supply was stopped on the 7th of Muharram. That's not the case. The water supply stopped on the second day of Muharram. All the water that was remaining in the tents of Imam Hussain alayhi salam ran out on the 7th of Muharram. All the water they had ran out on the 7th of Muharram. But Qasim ibn Hassan, he's solving us the matter of Qada and Qadr. That's what I wanted to talk about this today. What does he say? The day of 9th of Muharram, you recall day of 9th of Muharram, Umar ibn Sa'd had fired the first arrow. Imam Hussain alayhi salam sent Abu Fadl Abbas to him one more night. Now the night of Ashura has come. Night of Ashura, Imam Hussain alayhi salam comes out of his tent with a list, with a piece of paper. And he reads out the list of the people who are going to be killed tomorrow. He completes the list. Running out of the tents comes 13-year-old Qasim ibn Hassan ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he says, oh my uncle Hussain, you didn't mention my name. So Imam Hussain alayhi salam says, Qasim, tell me, what do you think about death? There's a verse in the Quran, you've all heard it before. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every soul will taste death. It's an interesting choice of words. Taste death. Death is just a taste. It's just a dha'iq. But what does it taste like? What does death taste like? We don't know. Until night of Ashura. 13-year-old Qasim ibn Hassan's telling you and I, what does death taste like? He says, Ya Amma, ahlan min al-asal. It's sweeter to me than honey. Death is sweeter than honey. Only if you know that you prepared for what's coming. Qasim ibn Hassan says that yes, Quran tells you that everybody's going to taste death, but if you want the best taste, then this is what you have to do. Hussein alayhi salam embraces him, he cries, he says, Qasim, your name is on the list. Qasim, your name is on the list. On the night of Ashura, Farwa says to Qasim that tomorrow is the day of fighting. Tomorrow is the day of Ashura. And know that I want you to be the first one into the battlefield, because if something happened to your uncle Hussein, your grandmother Fatima will definitely ask me on the day of judgment that your son was alive and my son got killed. Your son was alive and something happened to my son. Regarding this and regarding the greatness of the daughters-in-law of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. Of course, those who were daughters of Amir al-Mu'mineen, those who grew up in the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen, their character is unmatched. They were daughters of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. They had been fed by Fatima salamullah alayha. They had the best of parents. But our salam be to the daughters-in-law of Amir, who came from ordinary houses, from ordinary families, from ordinary parents. But on the day of Ashura, their character was exemplary. Nobody could pick out the difference between the daughters of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the daughters-in-law of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Allama Jamil Mazhari says, ऊंचा हाशिम के घराने का बहुत नाम किया, ऊंचा हाशिम के घराने का बहुत नाम किया, ए बाबा आज आपकी बहुओं ने बड़ा काम किया, ए बाबा आज आपकी बहुओं ने बड़ा काम किया. She says, I want you to be the first into the battlefield. Qasim ibn Hassan says, yes mother, I will be the first in the battlefield. The morning of Ashura comes and the corpses start coming into the tents. Farwa calls out Qasim. She says, I'm not happy with you. I told you I wanted you to be the first one in the battlefield, but you're still alive. And Qasim says, oh my mother, what should I do? I want to go to the battlefield, but my uncle Hussein doesn't let me go. My uncle Hussein prevents me from going. Farwa comes out. She says to Oh my master Hussein, why do you not give permission to my son to go to the battle? Why do you not give permission for my son to die? Imagine, there's no other day like Ashura where mothers are pleading, saying we want our sons to die. Hussein alayhi salam says, Qasim is young. He's still a child. Farwa all of a sudden remembers the day when Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam was about to pass away. And he says to her, Qasim, 3 years old at the time. He says to her that I'm about to die, but I'm tying this tablet on Qasim's right arm. On a day where some calamity comes to you, open this and read what it says on it. Farwa says to Qasim, that open that tablet, what greater day of calamity will there be than today? They open the tablet. It says, oh my brother Hussein, there will be a day where you will be surrounded by enemies. I will not be there. but consider Qasim as my representative on that day. Consider Qasim as my representative, as my naib on that day. Qasim becomes happy. He runs running to his uncle. He says, oh my uncle, read this. Hussain alayhi salam reads the writing of his brother Hassan and he begins to weep. The Maqatil states that he embraces Qasim and they weep so much that both of them collapse and become unconscious. They weep so much that they collapse and become unconscious. When they regain consciousness, Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam sends an order into the tent. He says, bring the amama of my brother Hassan. Bring his abba, bring his robe, bring his shoes, bring his sword, bring his zira, his armor. Hussain alayhi salam dresses Qasim in the amama of Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam, in the robe of Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam, in the armor of Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. And then what does he do? He takes the two sides of the amam of the turban and he rips them. And this was a sign in the Arabian culture that the child is an orphan. Then he takes the front of the shirt and he rips the shirt as well, to show that this child is an orphan. His father has passed away. Then he sent Qasim into the battlefield. Umar ibn Sa'ad says that that day I saw a child ride into the battlefield, and the child was so handsome that it looked like from beneath the turban that the moon of the 14th night was shining. The moon of the 14th night was shining. And then they wanted to send in some of the bravest people to fight. 13-year-old Qasim has mentioned that he's so short and so young that his feet don't reach the stirrup of the horses. If you allow me, I'll mention a few words from Niranese and then I'll come back to the English. Kis husn se Hasan ka jawane hasin lada. Kis husn se Hasan ka jawane hasin lada. Ghar ghar ki surate asad-e khashmgin lada. दो दिन की भूख और प्यास से वो महजबी लड़ा. दो दिन की भूख और प्यास में वो महजबी लड़ा. सेहरा उलट के यूं कोई दूल्हा नहीं लड़ा. हमने दिखाई दिए असदे किरदगार के. हमले दिखाई दिए असदे किरदगार के. मक्तल में सोए अज़्ज़क़े शामी को मार के. When he came into the battlefield, there was a prized warrior called Az-Zahra. And Umar ibn Sa'ad says to him that I want you to fight him. Az-Zahra says, I am such a prized warrior. It's against my grace and honor to fight a child so young. It's mentioned that he had 7 sons. So he sends one of his sons into the battlefield against Qasim. His son comes into the battlefield and it's said that he had long hair. Qasim takes him from the hair and throws him onto the ground. He's killed. Another son comes out. He's also killed. Qasim kills all of them. Then Az-Zahra Shami is so shocked that he himself comes out of the battlefield. He's also killed. Now Umar ibn Sa'ad said that you can't go against this child in single combat. You have to surround him. So they surround him. Or from all sides they surrounded him. Amr ibn Sa'ad Azdi says, he takes a spear and he says, I'm going to kill this child. When he's coming near to Qasim, Qasim disbalances on the horse, loses his balance. Imagine, remember when you hear this musibah, when you hear this masayib, when you hear this grief, that Qasim is still alive. He loses his balance and he's about to fall off of the horse. He's still alive. He calls on his uncle Hussein. He says, oh my uncle Hussein, come to my aid. Hussein alayhi salam hears that Qasim is calling him for assistance. Abu Fadl Abbas comes out of the tent. Imam Hussein alayhi salam comes out of the tent. When the enemies see that Hussein and Abbas have come out, they think they're coming out for the fighting. So they lose their composure and horses start running each on across directions. Qasim, who's come off of the horse, who's still alive, gets trampled by the hooves of the horses. Nahya says, Salam be on that Shaheed in Karbala whose ribs went from the right onto the left, and whose ribs from the left went onto the right. Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam reaches the body of Qasim, and there he says, Qareeb lashe Qasim jo pahunche sarwar teen, तो ऐसे हाल में आया नजर वो जिस्म हसीन कि थोड़ी देर तो आ ही सका न दिल को यकीन, कहीं था कुचला हुआ जिस्म, दस्तो पाते कहीं, एक आह भर के शहीदी जमीन पे बैठ गए, जहां खड़े थे वहीं पर लरस कर वहीं पे बैठ गए। हरम में पहुंचे तो देखा कि हश्र है बरपा, बिलक रही है सकीना, खामोश है कुबरा, तड़प के माने सुए लाशे पिसर देखा, जिगर को थाम के बोली ये क्या हुआ भैया, मैं ये तो जानती थी सर कटाएंगे कासिम, ये क्या खबर थी कि यूं वापस आएंगे कासिम। Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam reaches Qasim and he looks at the trampled body and he says, oh Qasim, your uncle couldn't come to your aid. Your uncle couldn't come to your aid in time. Your body got trampled into pieces. Imagine every single corpse Hussein alayhi salam lifts up and he brings it back into the tent. How do you pick up a corpse which is trampled into pieces? Hussein alayhi salam takes off his robe. He opens it and he picks up the pieces. He ties a rope and he brings it into the tent. All the women say, oh our master Hussein, where is Qasim? Hussein alayhi salam unties the robe. He shows them the pieces. He says, this is the body of Qasim. The women gather round. They start weeping. Oh, our Qasim. Ala wa la'lahi ala al-qawm al-dhalimin wa sayalamu alladhina dhalamu ayyamun qalamin yanqalibun. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein.
है लहू भरा चेहरा, कैसी रोनुमाई है लहू भरा चेहरा, कैसी रोनुमाई है, देखने को ये मंजर अब दुल्हन भी आई है, देखने को ये मंजर अब दुल्हन भी आई है, एक दिन की थी शादी हश्र तक जुदाई है, एक दिन की थी शादी हश्र तक जुदाई है, करबला के दूल्हा की लाश घर में आई है, खत हो गए कासिम यारी दोहाई है, खत हो गए कासिम यारी दोहाई है, दो जहाना क्यों रोए ये अली का पोता है, बेकसी पहासिम की दिल शिकस्ता होता है, ये जमीन रोती है, आसमान جان کھوتا ہے قتل ہو گئے قاسم یاری دہائی قتل ہو گئے قاسم یاری دہائی آج کربلا والے پھر ہمارے مہمان ہیں پھول ہو کے مہندی ہو سب عزا کے سامان ہیں اہتمام شادی کے ایک بہن کے ارمان ہیں غمزدوں کے نذرانے آنسوؤں کے طوفان ہے قتل ہو گئے قاسم یاری دہائی ہے قتل ہو گئے قاسم یاری دہائی ہے یہ صدائے ماتم ہے ایک پیام بیداری اس لیے رگوں میں ہے خون زندگی جاری زندگی ہماری ہے شاہ کی عزاداری خود شریک مجلس ہے اے غریب دکھیاری قتل ہو گئے قاسم یاری دہائی قتل ہو گئے قاسم یاری دہائی رن سے لاشے نوشا لائے جس گھڑی سرور زندگی کا ہر لمحہ پھر تو بن گیا نشتر ہر قدم قیامت تھی ہر قدم بتا محشر رہ گیا نگاہوں میں یہ لہو بھرا منظر قتل ہو گئے قاسم یاری دہائی ہے قتل ہو گئے قاسم یاری دہائی ہے مثل فاطمہ کبریٰ کون سی دلہن ہوگی سر تو بیردہ ہوگا ہاتھ میں رسن ہوگی لاش اس کے وارث کی رن میں بے کفن ہوگی اے رفیع اس غم میں قوم سینہ زن ہوگی قتل ہو گئے قاسم یاری دہائی ہے قتل ہو گئے قاسم یاری دہائی ہے
اجمان صلوات بلند ختم کریں ایسے پہرے